5 top CIA officials boarded a plane to Antarctica and were never seen again. No wreckage, no distress calls, not even a single clue. Just gone, vanished without a trace. Some say it was a tragic accident. Others believe it was a government cover-up, or even something far more mysterious buried beneath the ice. Today, we're diving into one of the most chilling, unsolved mysteries in modern history. And trust me, you'll want to hear this until the very end. In the late 20th century, something unusual started to stir inside the highest levels of U.S. intelligence. Whispers and classified reports hinted at strange activities in Antarctica, activities that didn't match the image of the frozen, barren continent most of us imagine. Officially, Antarctica was a land of scientists, penguins, glaciers, and international cooperation. But behind closed doors, intelligence circles were buzzing about something far more unsettling. Rumors spoke of massive underground structures, as if entire facilities, or even cities, were hidden beneath the ice. Satellite scans showed unexplained heat signatures in areas that were supposed to be lifeless. Military operators picked up bizarre signals, sometimes resembling coded transmissions, other times completely unexplainable. There were even stories of giant cave systems, so large they could fit skyscrapers, carve into the ice thousands of feet below the surface. For years, these reports were dismissed as speculation, half-truths, or exaggerations. But the CIA took notice. So when 5 high-ranking CIA officials were suddenly dispatched to Antarctica under a veil of secrecy, people who were in the know immediately suspected this was no routine mission. This wasn't a goodwill trip to check on research stations, nor was it a simple inspection of U.S. assets in the region. The mission was different, urgent, classified, and unsettling. Witnesses stationed at a nearby South American military base, where the officials made a stop before heading south, later described the group as unusually tense. These weren't rookies. They were seasoned operatives, men used to high-stakes environments. Yet, there was something in their body language, quick conversations, sharp glances, the way they clutched their equipment, that suggested this mission carried extraordinary weight. And what equipment it was. They weren't carrying the typical survival kits or light gear for a research oversight mission. Instead, they loaded encrypted briefcases, cutting-edge surveillance technology, and heavy protective cases whose contents remain a mystery to this day. Some claimed they even carried classified prototypes, devices designed to detect energy emissions or signals outside the normal range of human technology. Officially, the CIA maintained a simple explanation. These men were sent on a research assistance mission, offering logistical and intelligence support to U.S.-backed scientists working in the region. But insiders painted a different picture. According to leaks and testimonies years later, the mission had been triggered by something that deeply alarmed Washington, something that went beyond mere scientific curiosity. Some reports suggested strange satellite readings coming from deep within Antarctica's interior had spooked officials. Others hinted at intercepted transmissions, bursts of coded information bouncing from somewhere in the ice. Whatever it wasn't something the CIA could ignore. These 5 officials weren't just sent to observe. They were sent to investigate, confirm, and, if possible, contain whatever was happening beneath the frozen surface of the world's most mysterious continent. And so, their journey began, a journey that would end in one of the strangest unsolved disappearances in modern intelligence history. The last confirmed sighting of the 5 CIA officials came just before they boarded a U.S. military transport plane out of Chile, bound for an American outpost in Antarctica. It was a late-night departure, chosen deliberately to avoid attention. Witnesses at the airstrip recalled the men moving with quiet urgency, their encrypted cases and heavy gear standing out even among hardened military cargo. A cold wind swept across the tarmac, carrying with it an air of unease that no one could quite explain. Weather conditions along their planned route were difficult, but by Antarctic standards, not unusual. Pilots had flown in worse countless times. The crew filed a routine flight plan, checked their equipment, and taxied onto the runway. At 2:17 a.m., the massive transport roared into the night sky, vanishing into the southern darkness on a course for one of the most remote regions on Earth. Roughly 2 hours into the journey, the officials checked in by radio. Their transmission was calm, professional, even mundane. Skies were clear, turbulence was minimal, and the flight was on schedule. It was the kind of routine update that normally wouldn't have merited attention. But in hindsight, it would be remembered as the very last time anyone heard their voices. Because after that moment, silence. No distress signal. No mayday call. No emergency beacon. Military-grade aircraft, like the one they flew in, was equipped with multiple redundancies to ensure that if disaster struck, at least some kind of signal would get out. Yet not a single alarm was ever received. Even stranger, radar tracking the plane simply went blank. One moment, it was there, a solid blip moving across the screen. The next, it wasn't. It hadn't veered off course. It hadn't lost altitude gradually. It was just gone, as if the aircraft, the passengers, and all their classified equipment had been swallowed whole by the ice and the wind. The disappearance sent shockwaves through Washington. Within hours, a massive search and rescue operation was underway. U.S. Navy aircraft combed the skies, flying grid patterns over thousands of square miles of desolate terrain. Satellites were retasked from other missions, sweeping Antarctica for any sign of heat signatures, wreckage, or signals. Ground teams were dispatched from American and Allied research bases, braving brutal winds and whiteout blizzards to scour the suspected crash zone. Days passed, then weeks, yet not a single piece of evidence surfaced. No torn wing fragment sticking out of the snow. No black box ping echoing beneath the ice. Not even something as small as a seat cushion drifting across the frozen seas. It was as though the aircraft had been erased from existence. The official reports called it a tragedy. Harsh weather, likely crash, impossible terrain. But privately, many in the intelligence community were uneasy. Weather alone couldn't explain a disappearance so absolute. Planes might crash, but they don't just vanish without leaving behind a trace. And yet, in Antarctica, that's exactly what seemed to have happened. The complete lack of evidence surrounding the disappearance of the 5 CIA officials has fueled speculation for decades. Even today, people still argue over what really happened on that icy flight. With no wreckage, no bodies, and no official answers, countless theories have emerged, ranging from the plausible to the downright chilling. Theory 1, a natural disaster. The most rational explanation is that the plane crashed in one of Antarctica's many hidden dangers. The continent is riddled with massive crevasses, some deep enough to swallow entire aircraft whole. A miscalculation in navigation, combined with sudden weather shifts, could have sent the plane into a glacier or the Southern Ocean. In such cases, the wreckage would be buried instantly under tons of ice or sink into freezing waters, never to be recovered. But skeptics argue this doesn't add up. Even in catastrophic crashes, investigators usually find something. Floating debris, oil slicks, fragments washed ashore. The absolute absence of evidence suggests that if it was a natural disaster, it was unlike anything search teams had encountered before. Theory 2, a government cover-up. Others are convinced the disappearance wasn't an accident at all. Whistleblowers over the years have hinted that the 5 officials uncovered something highly classified, something the government could never risk becoming public. According to this theory, the plane never truly vanished. Instead, it landed or was diverted deliberately, and the officials were silenced. What they discovered, no one knows. But the secrecy surrounding the mission and the lightning-fast way official reports labeled it an accident have only fueled suspicions. If this theory holds weight, then Antarctica itself may be hiding secrets so sensitive that even top CIA operatives weren't safe from them. Theory 3, ancient structures. This is where conspiracy research takes a dramatic turn. Some believe the officials were investigating evidence of ancient ruins buried beneath the ice, possibly remnants of a lost civilization, or even advanced technology that predates modern history. Satellite images and leaked reports have occasionally shown strange geometric formations under the ice sheet, sparking claims of underground cities or megalithic structures. If the CIA officials stumbled upon such ruins, perhaps they found something too shocking for the world to know, something that led to their sudden disappearance. This theory resonates with those who believe Antarctica holds the remains of civilizations erased by time, hidden under miles of glacial ice. Theory 4. Extraterrestrial involvement. Perhaps the most sensational, yet widely discussed, explanation is that the officials encountered something not of this earth. For years, scientists and amateur radio operators have recorded strange signals coming from Antarctica. Unexplained bursts, magnetic anomalies, and transmissions no one can fully explain. Some suggest the CIA team was investigating these anomalies and came face to face with their source. Did they discover a hidden extraterrestrial base? Were they taken rather than lost? While it may sound far-fetched, the idea of UFOs or alien technology buried under Antarctica's vast ice sheet has captivated the internet. To many, the eerie silence of the officials' fate feels more like abduction than accident. In the end, each theory leaves more questions than answers. But together, they highlight one chilling fact. When it comes to Antarctica, the world's most remote frontier, vanishing without a trace is disturbingly possible. After weeks of relentless search operations, involving aircraft, satellites, and ground teams braving some of the harshest conditions on Earth, the U.S. quietly pulled the plug. The official search for the missing CIA officials was declared over. No dramatic press conference. No public acknowledgement of the countless hours and millions of dollars spent scouring the icy wasteland. Just a brief statement. The disappearance was a tragic aviation accident in extreme conditions. And with that, the story was supposed to end. But for many, that's where the real mystery began. Several independent researchers, investigative journalists, and even former intelligence employees tried to dig deeper into what happened. Yet almost every effort was met with walls of silence. Freedom of Information Act requests came back heavily redacted or denied outright. Access to basic records like flight logs, radar data, and communications from the transport plane was suddenly off limits. Some researchers later reported that their projects were abruptly shut down, with warnings not to pursue the case any further. It was as if the government wanted the entire incident erased from history. For the families of the 5 men, the silence was unbearable. These weren't ordinary citizens. They were high-ranking officials who had dedicated their lives to serving their country. And yet, in the moment they vanished, it seemed as though they were simply written off, swept under the icy rug of Antarctica. Instead of closure, the families received vague condolences, carefully worded letters, and a request to move forward. No bodies. No wreckage, no answers, just grief wrapped in uncertainty. Over the years, some family members began speaking out. One widow claimed she was visited by officials who told her not to ask questions, framing it as a matter of national security. Another relative said they were promised updates that never came. Eventually, frustrated and heartbroken, many concluded that the government knew far more than it was willing to admit. The lack of transparency only fueled suspicions. If this was truly just a plane crash in bad weather, why was everything about it so classified? Why deny access to basic flight data? Why silence researchers who tried to uncover the truth? Some believe the secrecy itself is the biggest clue. It suggests that the officials might have been investigating something so extraordinary, so sensitive, that their disappearance couldn't be explained in conventional terms. Others argue it was a cover-up of incompetence, that admitting what really happened would embarrass powerful agencies. But to the families, the official story has never been enough. Every birthday, every anniversary, every holiday that passes without their loved ones is a reminder that the truth is still buried somewhere under Antarctica's frozen silence. And perhaps that is the most haunting part of all, not knowing whether these men died in an accident, were silenced for what they discovered, or disappeared into something far stranger than we can imagine. Decades later, the disappearance of the 5 CIA officials in Antarctica still hangs like a shadow over the frozen continent. Despite advances in satellite imaging, new technology, and countless expeditions, not a single shred of evidence has been uncovered. No wreckage, no signals, no human remains, nothing. It's as though the men were plucked out of existence, erased from reality itself. That's what makes this story so chilling. Most disappearances leave behind clues, even if they take years to interpret. But here, there's only silence. And in that silence, theories multiply. Some experts continue to argue for the simplest explanation, a freak accident. Maybe the plane flew into an unexpected storm cell, crashed into the Southern Ocean, and was swallowed by its depths. The freezing waters could have hidden the wreckage forever. But even those who support this theory admit that it doesn't explain the lack of debris, distress calls, or emergency signals. Modern aircraft are designed to leave digital fingerprints behind when they fail. So why didn't this one? Others lean into the idea of a government cover-up. Could the CIA officials have discovered something in Antarctica so sensitive, so explosive, that the easiest option was to erase them from history? Some conspiracy researchers suggest they may have stumbled upon evidence of hidden bases, classified experiments, or even remnants of ancient advanced civilizations buried beneath the ice. If that were true, silencing the incident might have been seen as necessary to protect global stability, or to keep a monopoly on knowledge that could change the world. And then there's the theory that captures the imagination of millions, that something non-human was involved. Antarctica has long been a magnet for stories about strange signals, unexplained lights, and bizarre radio bursts detected by researchers. Could it be that the CIA officials were sent to investigate something that defied explanation, and that whatever they found was powerful enough to ensure they never returned? For families of the missing, these theories offer little comfort. They don't want speculation. They want answers. Yet after decades of silence, the hope for truth grows dimmer with each passing year. Some relatives have passed away without closure, while others still quietly push for declassification of documents that could shed light on what really happened. But perhaps the most unsettling possibility is this. The officials weren't the first to vanish in Antarctica, and they may not be the last. The continent has a long history of unexplained disappearances, from early explorers who vanished without a trace to more recent anomalies in radar and satellite readings. Could all these events be connected? Could the ice itself be hiding something humanity was never meant to uncover? One thing is certain. Until hard evidence emerges, this mystery will continue to haunt both skeptics and believers alike. The story of the 5 missing CIA officials has become more than a disappearance. It's a reminder that even in our modern, hyper-connected world, there are still places where the unknown reigns. And maybe that's what makes it so terrifying. If 5 of the most highly trained intelligence operatives on the planet can vanish without leaving a single trace, then what else might be waiting, silent and unseen, beneath the endless ice of Antarctica? Until the truth is revealed, this story will remain one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of modern history, an icy riddle carved into the most desolate place on Earth. And that brings us to the end of today's story. What do you think really happened to the 5 CIA officials in Antarctica? Was it an accident, a cover-up, or something far stranger? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theories.